Have you driven on the M25 recently? Maybe you use it every day to get to work, maybe you only travel on it once in a while, or maybe you're planning a summer road trip. No matter how often you're on that road, there are some important changes you need to know before you start your engine. And even if you've never been on the M25, don't leave just yet. The technology and traffic rules being introduced there are quickly spreading across the rest of the UK. What drivers are experiencing on that motorway today could soon become normal on many other roads. That means this information could help almost anyone who drives. Before we get started, take a second to subscribe and turn on notifications. Road rules and traffic enforcement are changing faster than ever. Many drivers don't realize something has changed until a letter shows up in the mail with a fine or penalty. Staying informed can save you money, points on your license, and a lot of stress. Now let's talk about why the M25 is getting so much attention. The M25 isn't just another motorway. It circles Greater London and connects many of the country's biggest roads into one huge network. Every day, around 200,000 vehicles travel on it. It links major routes like the M1, M3, M4, M11, and M23, making it one of the busiest highways anywhere in Europe. Because so many people use it, the M25 has become the perfect place to introduce new traffic enforcement systems. Government agencies often test new technology there before expanding it across the country. If a new camera or enforcement system works well on the M25, there's a good chance you'll eventually see it on roads closer to home. One of the biggest changes in 2026 involves cameras that can detect drivers using handheld mobile phones. Many people still don't know these cameras are already operating. They aren't like traditional speed cameras, and they don't need a police officer standing nearby. Instead, they use artificial intelligence to watch traffic from overhead structures. As vehicles pass underneath, the system looks for drivers holding or using a phone while driving. If the system detects what appears to be a phone in the driver's hand, it records the vehicle's registration number. From there, the enforcement process can begin automatically. In many cases, drivers don't even realize anything has happened until an official notice arrives at their home days later. That's a major change from the past, when a police officer usually had to witness the offense in person. The penalties can also be much more serious than many drivers expect. Using a handheld phone while driving can result in a 200-pound fine and 6 penalty points added to your driving record. For someone who has only recently earned their driver's license, those 6 points can have very serious consequences. New drivers who collect 6 penalty points within their first 2 years can lose their license and may have to go through the licensing process again, including both the theory and practical driving tests. Even experienced drivers shouldn't take those 6 points lightly. Since drivers can face a driving ban after reaching 12 penalty points, one phone offense alone puts them halfway to that limit. But that's not the end of the story. These same AI camera systems are also designed to look for another common safety issue at the same time: drivers or passengers not wearing seatbelts. That means one trip under a camera could potentially lead to more than one violation being recorded. While the exact outcome depends on the circumstances and how the offense is handled, these systems are capable of identifying multiple safety concerns during the same journey. This is one reason traffic enforcement is becoming much more advanced than many drivers remember. It's no longer just about catching someone speeding. Modern systems are designed to monitor several different types of driving behavior at once, and this is only the beginning. Another major change is making it much harder for drivers who have relied on old habits to avoid speeding tickets. Average speed camera systems are expanding to more roads than ever before, changing the way speed limits are enforced across the country. For years, many drivers believed they had figured out how to avoid speed cameras. They would slow down when they saw a camera, drive past it, and then speed back up a few seconds later. That trick may have worked with some older camera systems, but it's becoming much less effective today. That's because average speed cameras are now being installed in more places than ever before. They are no longer limited to temporary roadwork zones. Across 2026, more permanent locations on major roads and highways are using this technology to monitor drivers over much longer distances. Here's how the system works. Instead of measuring your speed at one single point, cameras are placed at the beginning and end of a section of road. The first camera records the exact time your vehicle enters the zone. The second camera records the time you leave it. Using those 2 timestamps, the system calculates your average speed for the entire stretch. If your average speed is higher than the posted limit, the system can automatically create a speeding violation. What makes this different is that slowing down for just a few seconds doesn't help anymore. Even if you reduce your speed when you notice a camera, driving too fast during the rest of the route can still push your average over the legal limit. In other words, it's your speed throughout the entire monitored section that matters, not just the moment you pass a camera. As more of these systems appear on major roads, drivers are learning that consistent speed is now much more important than quick reactions. Another major development involves smart motorways. If you've driven on roads like the M1, M3, M4, M6, M20, M25, or M62, you've probably seen electronic signs hanging above the lanes. These signs can display changing speed limits depending on traffic, weather, road conditions, or accidents ahead. Many people assume those signs are only suggestions, but that's a costly mistake. The cameras used on many smart motorways are called HADECS3 cameras. Unlike the large yellow speed cameras most people recognize, these cameras are much smaller and blend into the overhead structures. Their design makes them difficult to notice, especially when you're traveling at motorway speeds. Because they aren't as easy to spot, many drivers don't even realize they're being monitored. The important thing to understand is that these cameras enforce whatever speed limit is displayed on the overhead sign at the exact moment you drive underneath it. That speed limit can change very quickly. For example, a motorway that normally allows 70 miles per hour may suddenly drop to 60, 50, or even 40 if traffic conditions change. Operators in regional traffic control centers can update these limits in real time to improve safety and traffic flow. Once the new limit appears, the enforcement cameras begin using that limit immediately. This has surprised many drivers. Imagine driving early in the morning with almost no traffic around you. The road feels completely open, and everything seems normal. You continue driving at what feels like a safe speed, only to discover later that one overhead sign briefly displayed a lower speed limit just as you passed beneath it. Even if the signs before and after show different numbers, the limit displayed above your vehicle at that exact location is generally the one that applies. That means drivers need to pay close attention to every overhead sign even when the road appears empty. Ignoring those changing limits can result in speeding penalties. For many speeding offenses, the minimum penalty is a £100 fine and 3 penalty points on your driving record. In more serious cases, especially when speeds are much higher than the legal limit, the penalties can become much more severe and may even include a driving ban. The biggest lesson is simple. Modern traffic enforcement isn't just watching for dangerous driving anymore. It's using technology to monitor speed continuously, respond instantly to changing road conditions, and record violations without requiring a police officer to stop your vehicle. And in 2026, another major change is arriving, this time inside brand new vehicles themselves. Now let's talk about a change that doesn't involve roadside cameras at all. Instead, it comes built into many new vehicles. Starting in 2026, Intelligent Speed Assistance, often called ISA, is becoming a standard feature on newly approved cars sold in the UK. While many major car brands have already included this technology in recent models, the new rules mean it will become much more common going forward. So what exactly does ISA do? Think of it as a driving assistant rather than a speed enforcer. The system uses a combination of GPS information and cameras that read road signs. Together, they estimate the current speed limit on the road you're driving. If your vehicle goes over that limit, the system gives you a warning. Depending on the vehicle, that warning may appear as a message on the dashboard, a sound inside the cabin, or a gentle feeling of resistance through the accelerator pedal. The goal is to remind drivers to slow down before they accidentally continue above the limit. One thing many people misunderstand is that ISA does not completely stop you from speeding. Drivers can still press the accelerator harder if necessary, and in most vehicles the system can also be turned off. However, there's an important detail that catches many new owners by surprise. Each time you restart the vehicle for a new trip, ISA usually turns itself back on automatically. So even if you disabled it yesterday, you'll often need to adjust the setting again the next time you drive. That's why it's a good idea to spend a few minutes learning how your own vehicle works before heading out. Every manufacturer designs these systems a little differently, so understanding the controls can make your driving experience much smoother. Now, while new technology may help drivers avoid speeding, there's another cost many people don't think about until much later. It's not the ticket itself, it's your insurance. Most people focus on the fine they receive after a traffic offense. But for many drivers, the long-term financial impact comes when it's time to renew their insurance policy. In the UK, penalty points remain on your driving record for several years. During that time, insurance companies may consider those points when calculating your premium. Even a relatively small speeding offense can lead to higher insurance costs depending on your driving history and the insurer's pricing policies. For example, receiving 3 penalty points for speeding may increase what some drivers pay when they renew their policy. More serious violations can have an even greater impact. A mobile phone offense that carries 6 penalty points is often viewed as a higher risk driving behavior. Because of that, some drivers may see a much larger increase in their insurance costs compared to a standard speeding ticket. Unlike paying a fine once and moving on, higher insurance premiums can continue year after year while those penalty points remain on your driving record. Over time, that extra cost can become much larger than the original ticket itself. Now imagine how quickly those penalties can add up. A driver receives one speeding ticket from an average speed camera. Later in the year, they're caught using a handheld mobile phone. A few months after that, they miss a reduced speed limit on a smart motorway. Each incident may seem small on its own, but together they can add enough penalty points to place the driver's license at serious risk. At the same time, insurance costs could continue rising every year those points stay on the record. This is why traffic enforcement in 2026 is different from what many drivers remember. The biggest expense isn't always the first fine. It's the chain reaction that follows. One mistake can lead to points. Points can lead to higher insurance. And repeated violations can eventually put your driving privileges in danger. Understanding these changes before they happen is far easier and much less expensive than dealing with the consequences afterward. In the final part, we'll bring everything together and review the most important things every driver should remember before heading onto the road this summer. Let's put everything we've covered into one clear picture. Driving in the UK has changed dramatically over the last few years, and 2026 is bringing another major step forward in traffic enforcement. Whether you drive every day or only once in a while, it's becoming more important than ever to understand how these systems work before you get behind the wheel. The first thing to remember is that AI-powered enforcement is no longer something planned for the future. It's already being used on UK roads. Modern camera systems are able to detect drivers using handheld mobile phones without requiring a police officer to stop the vehicle. These cameras can also identify other safety issues such as seatbelt use, making them far more advanced than the traditional speed cameras many drivers grew up with. The second major change is the growing use of average speed cameras. Instead of measuring your speed at one location, these systems calculate how fast you travel over an entire section of road. That means slowing down for a single camera is no longer an effective strategy. The safest approach is simply to maintain a legal speed from the beginning of the monitored zone until you leave it. Next are smart motorways. Variable speed limits can change at any time depending on traffic, weather, road conditions, or incidents ahead. The overhead signs are legally important, and drivers should pay attention to each one as they travel. Even if the motorway looks clear, the speed limit shown above your lane is generally the one that applies at that moment. Another important development is the arrival of intelligent speed assistance in newer vehicles. While the system doesn't stop drivers from exceeding the speed limit, it does provide reminders designed to encourage safer driving. Since different manufacturers may implement the technology in different ways, it's worth taking a little time to understand how your own vehicle operates before your first trip. Finally, don't forget about the long-term financial impact of traffic violations. Many drivers only think about the fine they receive in the mail, but penalty points can continue affecting insurance costs for years. A single mistake may seem manageable, but repeated violations can become much more expensive over time through increased premiums, additional penalties, and in some cases, the risk of losing your license. The biggest difference today is how traffic enforcement works. Years ago, many drivers expected to see a police officer if they had broken a traffic law. Today, technology often does the job automatically. Cameras can record a violation, identify the vehicle, and begin the enforcement process without anyone pulling you over. For drivers, that means staying alert is more important than ever. Keep your phone out of your hand while driving. Wear your seatbelt every trip. Watch for changing speed limits on smart motorways. Maintain a safe speed through average speed camera zones instead of slowing down only at the last second. And if you're buying a new vehicle, take a few minutes to learn how its driver assistance systems work. A little preparation today can help you avoid unnecessary fines, penalty points, higher insurance costs, and plenty of frustration later. The roads are becoming smarter, and the technology watching them is becoming more advanced every year. Drivers who stay informed will be in a much better position to avoid costly mistakes and enjoy a safer journey wherever they travel. If you found this information helpful, consider subscribing for more updates on driving laws, road safety, and the latest traffic changes affecting motorists across the UK. And if you know someone who regularly drives on the M25 or any major motorway, share this video with them. It could help them avoid an expensive mistake before their next trip. Thanks for watching, drive safely, and I'll see you in the next video.